welcome back to this online lecture series on earthquake resistant design of structures. In today's video, we are going to discuss about two basic terms, that is seismology, and second, developing the understanding of the earth surface, that is known as geology. So without any further delay, let's explore both these terms. Right, now friends, we all know that in case of understanding any of the engineering process, it is necessary for us to go to the basics of it, or to develop an understanding regarding the fundamental concepts of this same. Same thing applies in case of earthquake engineering also. So study of earthquake engineering also calls for developing a good understanding of the geophysical processes that causes the earthquake and the various effects that are related to it. Now the question that comes to mind is, how do we bridge this gap between our understanding and the geophysical process? Then the answer to the question lies in the term known as seismology. That is, seismology is the study of generation, propagation, and measurement of seismic waves that travel to the various layers of the earth and reach the surface of the earth, and also to understand the sources that generate them. Right, now seismology basically is a Greek word which is a combination of two words, which is known as, first is the seismos and second is the logos. The word seismos stands for earthquake and logos means science. So basically we can say that seismology is nothing but the science of earthquake. Now when you start studying when you start developing the concept of studying the causes of seismic wave propagation, then we will come to know that these waves do not generate at the surface of the earth, but they are generated at a few kilometers down the surface of the earth. So what happens is that from this point of generation, these waves travels through the different layers of the earth and then reach the surface of the earth, right? So the question that comes to mind is that what are these different layers of this earth? And this question leads us to our second terminology, which is known as geology, right? So geology again is basically the study of the earth's surface. Now as we can see in this figure over here, the geology is basically divided into three parts. First is known as the crust, second is known as the mantle, and third is known as the core. Now each and every part is subdivided into another two categories. For example, if we talk about the crust, then the crust is divided into two parts. First is known as the oceanic crust and the second is known as continental crust. After the crust, there is one small region which is known as the subduction zone. After the subduction zone, then there is mantle, which is again divided into two parts, which is known as upper mantle and the lower mantle. And after upper mantle and lower mantle comes the outer core and the inner core. Right. So now, as you can see, the figure basically tells us that the thicknesses of these layers are also going to vary as you reach towards from the center of the earth to the reach towards the center of the earth. One thing very important to understand over here is that as in how you travel from the surface of the earth towards the center of the earth, then what is going to happen is that the thickness is going to change, the temperature, the pressure, and the specific gravity is also going to change, right? So how is it going to change? In at the surface of the earth, the specific gravity is going to be less, the pressure is going to be less, and the temperature also is going to be less, and the thickness of the topmost layer is also going to be less. But as in how we travel towards the surface of the earth, then we will observe that the thickness of the layers will increase. Along with the thickness of the layer, the material that is going to be composition of these layers is also going to be denser. So as a result of that, the specific gravity is also going to be more. Along with the specific gravity, the temperature is also going to increase, and at the same time, the pressure is also going to be more. Right. So when you talk about the center of the earth, which is known as the inner core, then it is going to be a highly pressurized zone with a very high temperature exceeding greater than 3000 degrees Celsius. Right. So now we will go and study in depth the properties of all these layers one by one. Right. So first we talk about the crust. So crust or lithosphere is basically the outer part of the earth where the life exists or where we all live. Now earth is also divided into two parts, which is known as the crust is also divided into two parts, which is known as the continental crust and the oceanic crust. The layers of the crust that are below the or beneath the continent is known as the continental crust, and the layers which are below the oceans are known as the oceanic crust. Right, the average thickness of the continental crust is in the range of 40 kilometers to 75 kilometers, whereas in case of oceanic crust, the thickness is as low as 5 kilometers only. Right, now the question comes in, what is the composition of this crust? The composition of the crust is basically nothing but it is made of two types of rocks, which is known as the basaltic rock, and the second is known as the granite rock. So when you talk about oceanic crust, the oceanic crust is made up of basaltic rock, and the continental part is followed by granite rocks, which are overlaid by the basaltic rock. Next layer is the mantle. So as I said earlier that as and how you are going to travel from the surface of the earth towards the center of the earth, we will observe that the thickness of the layers is going to increase, density is going to increase, and the temperature is also going to increase. So that is why the first point that is mentioned here in the slide, as you can see, that the thickness of the mantle is 2,900 kilometers. Whereas when you compare this particular thickness with the first layer, which is the crust, then in that case we saw that the maximum thickness was 75 kilometers. So you can see there is an enormous amount of increase in the thickness when you compare with the first layer, right? Now we have seen that the mantle is basically consisting of two parts. First part is known as the lower mantle and the second part is known as the upper mantle, right? So when we talk about lower mantle and upper mantle, in both the layers, the major composition is the silicate. There are two types of silicates. When we talk about the lower layer, then in case of lower level, olivine and pyroxene are the two types of the materials that are found. And in case of the other case, the homogeneous mass of magnesium and iron, homogeneous mass of magnesium, iron oxide, and quartz are there. The quartz is also basically falling under the group of silica itself, right? So now the important point to be noted is that, as I have told you, that the epicenter or the generation of the seismic wave is some kilometers down the surface of the earth. So as a result of that, we can say that in very rare cases do we see that the epicenter of the earth is lying in the lower mantle portion. So that is why it is written over here that no earthquakes are recorded in the lower mantle. So based on that, we can say that whenever the question is asked that which is the focal depth at or which is the range of the focal depth wherein the majority of the earthquakes are going to occur. So we can say that right from 0 to 700 kilometers is the range where the maximum possibility of earthquake is likely possible, and after 700 kilometers the location of epicenter is very less. So as you can see in the figure over here on the right hand side, the maximum thickness of the mantle is shown as 600 kilometers, right? So upper mantle thickness is shown as 600 kilometers, and after 600 kilometers the portion of lower mantle starts, which goes and extends up to 2,900 kilometers, as we have discussed. Now other thing is regarding the specific gravity also. So specific gravity of the mantle portion is 5, and at the same time the temperature, that is the maximum temperature that is going to be recorded in case of mantle, is going to be 2200 degrees Celsius, that is 2200 degrees Celsius, which is huge, right? And the second thing or the important point that we can say that what is the state of the material that is going to be there present in this particular layer, then we can say that the layer is going to be in semi-liquid state when it is going to be subjected to slow forces, but this particular layer will act as a solid layer when it will be subjected to rapid shaking, and earthquake, as you all know, falls under the category of rapid shaking. So in case of rapid shaking, these layers will occupy the form of a solid layer, right? And the last layer, that is core. As we have seen, first is core, second is mantle, first is crust, second is mantle, and third is core. So coming to the third layer, which is the core, or which is to the center of the earth. Again, core is divided into two parts, as you can see in the figure, the inner core and the outer core. The radius of the core is 3,470 kilometers, right? And when you talk about the inner core, the inner radius of the inner core is 1,370 kilometers approximately. Now core again is composed of iron and nickel, are the two basic minerals or two basic elements which form the composition of the inner core and the outer core. And the second thing is there that we need to observe is that in case of outer core, the material is going to be in fluid state, whereas in case of inner core, the material is going to be in the solid state, right? So so we can say that in case of inner core, the material is going to be very dense, and that is why it is going to be in the solid form. Now I told you that as and how you travel from the surface of the earth towards the center of the earth, the specific gravity is going to increase, same time the temperature is going to increase, and same time the pressure is also going to increase. So that is why here we can say that the maximum temperature recorded at the center of the earth is 3,300 degrees Celsius, which is very high, right? And the specific gravity of the outer core is in the range of 9 to 12, whereas that of the inner core is 15. So you can say that inner core is the portion which is going to be highly pressurized with highest temperature and highest specific gravity, right? So this is a summary you can see here in the figure, where on the left hand side the portion that is shown is showing the chemical properties of the earth's surface, and on the right hand side the physical properties of the earth's surface. Chemical properties are the ones that we have already discussed in the previous slides, wherein we bifurcate the surface of the earth in the terms of crust, mantle, inner core, and outer core, right? So as we can see, first 0 to 75 kilometers is the range where the crust is there, after the crust the mantle is there, then the outer core is there, and then the inner core is there, and along with that the radius of these all these layers are also shown in the figure. right? And also the same time the chemical composition is basically talking about the composition of the materials that are going to be there. So as we have seen that in case of crust and mantle, the major composition is of silicates, whereas in case of outer core and inner core, the major composition is of the iron and nickel, right? And when the same side, that is on the right hand side of the figure, when you compare, which is showing the physical properties, then in case of physical properties, the classification is done in terms of layers, wherein the first layer is lithosphere, second layer is ethanosphere, third layer is mesosphere, and the fourth layer is outer core, and the fifth layer is inner core. Now the range or the thickness of these layers, when you talk in terms of physical property, is going to differ as compared to that of the chemical property, right? So as you can see in the figure, in case of lithosphere, the range is 0 to 100 kilometers. Then from 100 to 300 kilometers, it is known as ethanosphere, and from beyond 300 kilometers, it is known as mesosphere. And at the same time, the state of the material is also shown on the right hand side, whereas in case of left hand side, we've already seen that it is going to be somewhat in semi-liquid stage, and as you move towards the center, it is going to be in solid state. So similarly, when you see that same kind of behavior in case of the physical properties also, then it is shown that in case of lithosphere, the layer is going to be rigid in nature. Then we talk about ethanosphere, then the material is going to be in plastic state. Then we travel again to mesosphere, where it is going to be in solid state. Then again we travel to the outer core, which is going to be in liquid state, and finally we come to the solid inner core, which is going to be in the solid state, right? So the point of understanding is that when you go towards the center of the earth, the material is going to be very dense with very high temperature and very high pressure. So as a result of that, the material that is going to be there in the center of the earth, whether in terms of chemical properties or in terms of physical properties, it is always going to be in the solid state, right? So I hope that this particular slide will give you a complete brief on the earth surface and the different aspects or different components of the earth surface that are there. Lastly, before we conclude the lecture, we come to the definition of earthquake now. Since we have already developed the understanding of the earth surface, then we can go to the definition of earthquake. So earthquake is basically a result of sudden release of energy from the earth crust, and that creates seismic waves, right? So again, the word that is to be noted over here is that the earth crust. We have seen crust, mantle, and core. So if somebody is asking you where is the origin of the seismic waves or where is the origin of the earthquake, then our answer should be it is from the earth crust, and it results into the creation of seismic waves. The other definition we can say is that it is also known as a quake or tremor in local language, right? So a quake or tremor is nothing but a sudden release of extreme energy from the earth crust, which results into shaking and displacement of the structures that are constructed on the ground, and also the creation of seismic waves. Now as you can see in the figure over here that is shown, then you can see that the top layer, which is known as the lithosphere, is shown, then the continental crust is shown, and the building also is located, which is also shown in the figure. Now what happens is that if you look at the extreme corner of the figure, then you can see that the earthquake focus of the epicenter is shown. So what will happen is that whenever the pressure will be generated, then as a result of that, the energy will be released from this focus point or the epicenter, and once this energy is released, then it will result in the creation of seismic waves. Now what will happen is that these seismic waves, when created, will travel through the various layers of the earth and reach the surface of the earth. Once it reaches the surface of the earth, then it will take the form of surface waves, and it will propagate along the surface of the earth and create the ground motion. Once this ground motion will reach beneath the building, then as a result of that, what is going to happen is that the displacement or tremor will be felt in the building, and as a result of that, the building is likely to undergo deformation, right? So that is the example that is being trying to show here in the figure. Another example, or a very layman example, that we can take for the generation of seismic waves in case of earthquake is the ripple effect that we have in case of water. For example, if we have a pond or a river or a valley or ocean, and if you throw a pebble in it, then what will happen is that as soon as the pebble will strike with the water, then as a result of that, a rippling effect, you can see in the figure I have shown here, example I have shown, that the ripple effect in the water is shown. So same kind of thing happens in case of earthquake also. When the energy is released, then the energy directly does not travel to the surface of the earth, but what happens is that the energy converts that the formation of energy will result into creation of seismic waves, and these seismic waves, depending upon the different layers of the earth, will be reflected or refracted, and then they will reach the surface of the earth, and then the ground motion will be initiated, right? So I hope the definition and the example of earthquake generation of earthquake is clear to you. That's it for this particular session. Stay tuned for the remaining session. Thank you.